Every story is a ticket to somewhere extraordinary. No need to pack a bag, just settle in and let the words transport you. Now boarding, an insight to an author's mind. This is the Story Station.
My name is Anna, and I like to write because that was just something natural that came to me as a kid. And I loved creative writing because I can make up anything.
That is so nice. The power of imagination, anything you want to create. And you are in Michigan, is that correct?
Yep.
Wow, that's exciting. You are our first guest who's not from Idaho, so welcome to the Story Station. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
You have 2 books currently published, is that right?
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about them.
So I have The Secret Lies in Your DNA, and that is about a young girl who is a teenager and she's going through high school, and she ended up in foster care because of some circumstances in her home that her school finds out about. And then she goes through different homes through foster care. But through that, she finds out that her mom that was raising her is not her biological mother. And so she finds her birth mother, and her birth mother is the one that she starts to live with. And then the second book is called Shattered Glass, and it's a series from that first book that I mentioned, The Secret Lies in Your DNA. And it's about the same girl, and she's growing up as a young adult now in the second book. And she goes through all these different things. Like, she finds out she has some other siblings through her biological dad. And then towards the end, she ends up becoming a mom for the first time. And it's a lot of things that conspire up to that point. But I think that it's really one of those Lifetime types of books, because I watch a lot of Lifetime movies, so I was able to create a book kind of based on the things that I've seen in Lifetime. I've never seen anyone have a story identical to mine, but I've seen different movies where there was, maybe someone finds out, this lady is not their parent or something like that. That's kind of what I tried to create.
That sounds like a lot of twists and turns.
Yeah, it is.
You said you watch a lot of movies with real life stories. Is that what inspired you to write realistic fiction?
Part of it, but also there's some things that I experienced as a kid, and I wanted to put that into a book form. The characters are not me, it's all made up, but I wanted to, have people be able to relate to something. And also I feel like I could relate to that character because, well, obviously I wrote it too, but, I also can relate to because there's some things that I've gone through, as a kid or, as an adult. And so I wanted to make a story that I could relate to just to get out my feelings about things that have happened in my life. That's basically where that came into play.
Do you have any tips for making your characters and the challenges that they face seem real and relatable?
I think that you can just start with what kind of things have happened in my life and what kind of things would I like to have happen in my life. That's kind of something that I went off of when I started writing the book, is that I was thinking about places that I've been or things that have happened and how I would love for it to change if I could have changed it. And so that's where I went from there.
I like what you were saying about taking inspiration not only from what has happened, but what you want to happen. That's really creative, and I like that.
Thank you.
So where do your books take place?
The first book, The Secret Lies in Your DNA. And I forgot to say that the book is by Queen Anna, not just Anna.
That's a cool author name.
Thank you. And it's also on Lulu.com. I forgot to also say that. The first one takes place in, I don't want to say a suburb because it's not really that suburban, but it's like not urban at all. So it's kind of like in the middle there. And the girl is kind of, growing up. I mean, like she does talk about her childhood, but the main part of the story, she's like growing up in like that type of environment where it's like not rural, but it's not like really city. So it kind of takes place in like Ann Arbor. And I have never actually like lived there, but I've gone there. So I thought that I would just like make a story about that. And she lives there, but then she ends up in different places. Once she's in foster care, they place you wherever they can place you. And so she's going through these different homes and she stays in that area, but then she ends up in California. Wherever she was like originally, she doesn't stay there. And so the second book, she was in California like originally, but she goes back to Michigan because that's what she knows and that's what she's comfortable with. So she goes back to Michigan. But she lives in a different city, which is like Rochester. And so she just lives in a nice, an even nicer place. And so I guess like I wanted to create a place where she could feel safe, being that her situation changed. I don't want to give the like book away too much, but she needed a safer place because of who her biological mother is. She lives in like a gated apartment community kind of thing, but somehow that gets broken into. And so it's like, how does that happen when you're in a gated community? It's like a really crazy story. And I like kind of made it where all these crazy things happen, but it's a short story. The first book is about like 70 something pages. And then the second book is like, I think about 60 something pages. So like I made all these things happen in like this short period of time. But I wanted to make it where like people would be interested. And I feel like if you have a long book, sometime you lose interest. You're like, man, how many pages do I have?
That's true. And so it's important to know your audience.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that because it feels like in real life, things don't always happen very quickly. Sometimes something might happen and then the next exciting thing that happens is like months later. But in a book, like you were talking about, you want to keep your audience's attention and keep things moving forwards. So do you have any tips for keeping your story moving?
So I think that what I did was I wrote my first chapter and then I thought about, okay, so what title do I want to have for the second chapter? And what topic do I want to go on to? Like, what do I think that would flow the best and happen after, whatever happened in the first chapter? And how can I continue that to make it flow a lot better? So that's kind of where I started. And I'm not, this is my second book and I haven't had many people buy it, but most people that have bought my book think that the book is about me.
Oh,
Even though I have on my on Lulu, it says, I guess it's fine print, so they probably don't read the whole thing, but it does say on there that it's fiction. But people still think that it's me, even though my name is not the main character's name. And my mom knows my whole life because she's, she gave birth to me, and she still has read it, both books, and still thinks it's me. Like, she talks as if it was me, and I'm like, Mom, it's not me.
that's an interesting thing. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, and I think that's how, like, that the writing is good when, like, somebody can see that, the characters are obviously not you. And even if the people who known you still think that it's you, and it has nothing to do with you, like some of the things didn't happen, and they know that because they were with you through your childhood, I feel like that makes it even more, like, relatable somehow.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, I feel like that character is the writer, and I don't put my face on the book, so you don't know what I look like. But for you to actually think that has to be her and not even know me. Some of the people don't actually know me that bought my book. They don't know my intimate life or anything, but they still think that it's me. And so I think that, like, I was able to make the character believable enough, even with a fiction book, that people could feel like that has to be true. That has to be her.
That is impressive. So realistic that even your mom can't tell.
Yeah. I mean, she's like, when she first tried to edit my first book, she's like, first of all, your dad was this and that. And I'm like, Mom, it's not me.
Oh, when we talked on the phone, then you mentioned that you also have written a script for this story to be turned into a movie.
Yeah, so I wrote 2 scripts, one for the first book and then one for the second book. And I'm hoping, I'm not sure because I'm not, once I sell it to someone, I don't know how they're going to take the script and use it. They could make both scripts a long movie or they can make 2 different movies. I hope it's 2 different movies, but I am wanting to put it in some kind of big production like Lionsgate or Paramount or something like that. Like, I always had high hopes for myself. I think that if you want to ever achieve anything in life, it doesn't matter if you're writing a script or writing a book, then you need to first believe that anything is possible. Any good thing is possible. Also, I think that you should remember that not everyone's going to like what you have done, you're writing, but be okay with that because you liked it. And so it's good enough if you like it. And when you're writing, I mean, most of the time you're probably just writing for fun. Like for me, at first, when I wrote my first book, I was just writing it to see what happens. And I wasn't really sure if people were going to buy it or anything like that. But I started pitching it to a group that I went to on Meetup, and people started wanting to buy it. And I was really surprised. But unfortunately, none of my family members bought my book.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But they say that most of the time, the people that will buy your products or anything you're selling is going to be a stranger because they don't know you. They don't know, how to judge you. So they're going to probably be the first one to say, you know what, I'll try and buy your book and do that for you. Even if they just wanted to buy it to support you or they were just curious about it, I think that it will always be a stranger first, unless you have that supportive family that just like buys anything you're selling. Not everybody has the money to because now the economy is like how it is now. But yeah, I've sold probably about 6 of my first book. The Secret Lies in Your DNA, and that was published on Lulu.com in March of last year. And then the Shattered Glass book was published this year in February on Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's so cool. Well,
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's so exciting to have 2 books published.
Yeah, thank you. My grandfather passed away last February on the 14th, and I kind of wanted to do kind of something to, remember him by. For me, it was like a day of loss, but it's also a day of loving the people that are still here. So I thought that it would be a good idea to publish my book this time on a special day. And I will be coming out with a 3rd book to this series, and that'll be the last book for the whole series, The Secret Lies in Your DNA and The Shattered Glass. I'm not going to say what the name of it is, but I'm working on the 3rd book. I don't know if it's going to be this summer. I'm hoping that I can publish it.
Writing your last book of the trilogy, that's got to feel, I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I think that I feel good because the character gets to like tell her whole story. Like she's just telling her story about things that she's been through and, you know, her thoughts growing up as a young adult, like how she views things. And I think that it's going to get better in the third book. So I'm happy that she's going to, like, you know, be more healed and things are going to be more calm in her life. So, like, I am kind of like, oh, well, this is the last book. Am I going to write? Like, what am I going to do after this? You know, that's the kind of like question that I ask myself. And I think that I'm wanting to take a break because I've been writing for like 3 years straight. And so it's a lot, even though there's short stories, it takes a lot of brain power and energy out of you just to write. And I love writing, but there's some days where I just didn't feel like writing. And so it takes a lot out of you. But I think that now that I'm on my third book, I have come up with a strategy to make it less strenuous or like less where I feel like, oh, I have to write today. I write like a page a day, like just stick to writing a page a day. So then if I'm writing a page a day, within a week, I would have 7 pages instead of saying, well, today I'm going to write a whole chapter. Like that's a lot, you know? And then there's like things I, you know, already working on, you know, outside of that. So it was like, okay, well, how long is it going to take me to do this? So I just stuck to let's write a page a day and see where it goes from there. And, you know, with all 3 of these books, I want to see how I've grown. And I want other people to see how I've grown and I've changed as a writer. There are some, like maybe 1 or 2 cosmetic things that I found that was in my first book. And I didn't change it on purpose because I wanted to see, 1, how did I change? What kind of strategies did I use from that book to the second book? And then when I write the third book, I'll be able to see what kind of strategies did I use differently from the second book to the third book. And then all together, I'll be able to see, okay, how much have I grown all together?
Working on it a little bit a day at a time, and then you accomplish great things and look back on that and see how you've grown. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I also thought that, you know, if I have like a space in between a word or something, like don't change it. I corrected most of the things, but the thing is like we always want things to be perfect. And we think, oh my gosh, I have like a period that's like too far away or something like that from, you know, the word. You don't have to be perfect to be good at something.
Yeah.
You just have to try your best. Some of the things that I found, because I kept nitpicking the first book, and I'm like, you know what? If it's there, it's there. There's probably other things that are there. It's not that big of a deal. And some people think that, oh, I have to have things perfect, but you don't. And I wanted to prove that to myself. You know, in the second book, I end up nitpicking a lot more because I wanted to just see the difference between the first and the second book. And then like my third book, I'm probably going to be a little bit, you know, strategic more. And I'm probably going to be still picky. But I think that with being strategic about the way that I'm writing, when I first sit down and write a story, it will stop me from having to go back and find all these errors and things like that because I did it a lot better the first time I sat down and wrote that chapter or page or whatever.
If we were all just too picky about what we wrote, it would be so hard to write anything because it would just be so discouraging. But like you're saying, it's not about having a perfect draft. It's about writing and improving and just working on it little by little.
Yeah. Like my grandma has a book and I don't know how good it is. I don't know if it's not good because she's told me about the book, you know, what it's basically about. But the thing is, it's still on her computer. It's not published. I don't know if anyone's edited even. I don't know what she's waiting for. But sometimes there are people that are out there that they're so like unsure of themselves that they never actually try. They never actually go out there and just publish it and see what happened. I'm not saying that you have to just write a book today and then just publish it without editing it. 'Cause that probably isn't a good idea, but I'm also saying that you don't have to get all the nooks and crannies the first time. Like when it's your first book and people know that it's your first book, I'm pretty sure people out there are going to, give you some grace, because it's kind of like when you work at McDonald's or something. If it's your first day, customers aren't going to yell at you that you didn't get their order correctly. You know what I mean? Because there's going to be things that you're going to have to learn along the way and how to do things effectively. And I think that I have learned that even with my script. I have never wrote a script professionally before, but I found that out on YouTube. I Google everything if I want to do something. That's why the internet is so awesome if you use it correctly, because you can find out how to do anything.
That's true.
Some things you probably should leave to a professional, but when it comes to writing, it's not going to hurt you. Maybe, a director will give you grace and take your writing, even though it's not professional. You didn't go to school for it. Like I didn't. And my school didn't teach us how to do scripts. I just had to look on YouTube University and then and then you can find anything. I've taught myself how to do a lot of things. And so I think that people just have to use the tools that they have, but also it's all about believing in yourself first. If you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe that you can sell a book, well, you can't convince anyone else.
That is so true. Very inspiring. You've shared a lot of really very wise things. So thank you so much for coming on talking with me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Do you have any other last words of wisdom that you would like to share?
I would say when you are doing anything, just be you. Just be true to you. And it'll be easy. If you are not true to you, then things will be hard.
Thank you for traveling with us. Next stop, your work of art. Poetry, fiction, creative non-fiction, you name it. Email us at storystation@riverbendmediagroup.com. Submission guidelines are not shy. They can be found in the podcast description. The Story Station, hosted by Emma, is a production of Riverbend Media Group.